morning, colleagues. It is now 9 o'clock, and thus the Budget Committee meeting will now commence. Colleagues, today we will be considering and adopting the draft committee report on the negotiating mandate on the Division of Revenue Bill B3/2021 as required by the NCOP, as well as one set of minutes. Colleagues, my name is Deirdre Bartman. If you would allow me, I'm going to leave my video off for today. Members, if you can please introduce yourselves, and then I will jump straight into the views on the report, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the committee. Good morning, Chairperson and members of the committee. I'm Lulama Mvimbi. I'm the member of the committee.
Good morning, member.
Thank you, Member Mvimbi.
Chairperson and members, good morning, Wendy Philander.
Thank you, Member Philander.
Morning, member.
Good morning. I think that was Member Brinkhuis.
Good morning, Chairperson, Ricardo Mackenzie.
Thank you, Member Mackenzie.
Morning, it's Member Nomi Nkondlo.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo.
Good morning, Chairperson, Regan Allen.
Thank you, Member Allen.
Good morning, Chairperson. This is Gillian Bosman.
Thank you, Member Bosman. Okay, are there any other members that I've missed? Okay, if none, colleagues, I'm going to jump straight in. This is not a new process. We've done this process before. Colleagues, we have received one submission on the Division of Revenue Bill from Member Mackenzie regarding the negotiating mandate. I'm going to first allow Member Mackenzie to speak to the submission he's made, and I'm going to ask that Dustin just please put it up. And then after that, I'm also going to take more views on the bill, and then we can discuss the views regarding the consideration. Dustin, if you can just put up, sorry, Dustin, I see your hand, yes?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. Member Mackenzie, can you please just email me that submission, please? Then I can just put it up quickly.
Sent now. Thank you. I was going to make that point.
Okay, no problem. I did see Mackenzie did email it to you yesterday. But Member Mackenzie, if you have it open, if you can perhaps then share it for us.
Can I share my screen? Hang on a second. I can open it quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Is that right? Can you see me?
Not yet. Perhaps let's give it a minute or so.
Hang on a second. For recording purposes, shouldn't Dustin or can you record when I have it open?
Yes.
But Dustin, do you have it open with you?
I've got it here. I've got it here, Chair. I will just then quickly put it on. Just share it quickly.
Okay, I think that's better, yes, because then Member Mackenzie can tell you when to move the document.
Can you see it, members? Let me just take it a little bit up. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Can you also just make it a bit bigger for us, please?
No problem.
Okay, a little bit more bigger. That's because you'll be able to move down. There we go. Okay. Member Mackenzie, since this is your submission, I will then hand over to you in order to just take us through the gist. You do not need to go through every single word of the document. If you can just explain it to us, please. Thank you.
Chairperson, I'm submitting my reasons why I would like us not to submit or to support the vote. All these figures are in the blue book that you've given us. So I've taken these figures directly from the book, but I'm happy if anyone wishes to correct me if there's an error message or two. I had a look at some of the numbers and looked at some of the proposed allocations for province. Obviously, one is always welcome that we receive money, but one has to look at what's happening in the respective departments, of which many of us attended those meetings, and how it impacts us. And if I take into, and having Treasury here at these committee meetings, and the majority of people asked questions at this meeting, the equitable share formula still does not take into account the holistic provision needed for individuals moving towards economic centers in the Western Cape and Gauteng. This problem is not unique to the Western Cape. And I want to make a practical example. When you allocate funding to the health component, and we know that I think 20,000 learners and roughly 65,000 individuals moved to the Western Cape, and Gauteng received the bulk, 350,000 persons. It is okay to allocate money to an extra nurse, but what the equitable formula does not take into account is that nurse is going to drive to work on a road. That nurse is going to need access to water. That nurse is going to need access to sanitation. That nurse is going to need access to housing, whether the nurse stays in Bishop's Court or Constantia or Mitchell's Plain or Khayelitsha. Given the salary scale of that individual will need a holistic support, not just a move to another province, but overall support. And that support has not been forthcoming for decades. And this is consistent with Gauteng, the Western Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal himself has expressed a concern that the equitable share formula might pay for the salary of the individuals moving. But the roads are not being upgraded. There are more taxis on the road. The individuals, so there's a holistic support that the equitable share formula does still not take into account for health, education, social developing, etc. One of the big increase, and now we saw census again be postponed, is the equitable share formula does not account. There is a delay on the population increase allocation because they used last year's formula. So even if you use your own budget, we all know increases has been low. So you pay every month, you pay extra 10 Rand, 15 Rand, then a year later, you actually get a budget increase. That comes a year too late. And that is why we get so many social issues, because the equitable formula does not take into account the immediate needs of that. What we did see as well, and we still see it, and including as the recent reports that has come out, and terribly and sadly, that video of the Denel people crying, where they're being retrenched, where they being not salaries being paid for months. It's sad and it's heartbreaking to see that video, but still the state refuses and give money to places like SAA, which is another billion, which they still to this day refuse to account exactly how that 10 billion was spent, including from National Power, and also one of the agencies are taking them to court. So we see that ultimately, when you allocate billions and billions of rands to failing state-owned enterprises, and this money that obviously comes from provinces, or that could have been allocated to provinces to ensure that individuals moving to the cities get all that support they need, and not just a free house, but that they drive on proper roads, the proper infrastructure, and that is still missing, and I don't know when that's going to be sorted out. And when we're talking about something that I must give credit to National Treasury on the housing or the human settlements allocation, we've seen where some provinces did not spend some of their funding. And the Western Cape has been a great beneficiary of that last two terms, I think, when I was here, where they said, listen, Gauteng didn't spend, or Northern Cape, Eastern Cape didn't spend X amount of money. But we still see for 90% of the departments, there is no penalty for that. So that means that money completely goes to waste and could go to provinces, us, Gauteng, and KZN, that is using that effectively. And I think there is no consequence management for the SAAs, for the Denels, and all of these. So when you consistently have a national treasury only holding a portion of provinces to account, we cannot support a budget where there's no consequence management. And that is the reason. And I've get into detail, like I said, every member's got this book and they can go through it in detail. No, they can. I know that they have, because they've raised some of these matters in the committees, including something that I actually forgot to put in that are now come to mind, is the National School Nutrition Program. We saw last year the Western Cape, during the most terrible hard lockdown in the world, they were the only province that fed millions of learners. The other provinces did not until a court ordered them to do so. But there was no consequence management of that money. That money could have gone to provinces like ourselves. Ironically, the only one of only 9 provinces that bothered to feed those millions of children. There's no consequence management in this budget for provinces that failed to spend these monies. And for these reasons, and I can go many more, that I don't think we can support the overall money. Like I said, we're happy with some of the things that were done, but 80 to 90% of what was done in this budget on the eloquent lack of consequence management, still funding failing SOEs, it is not reasonable and just to support this budget.
Okay, thank you, Member Mackenzie. Dustin, can you quickly just show us the pages of the document? I see there the first paragraph on the first page is regarding the overall amount. Let's just stop there by the paragraph on provinces and the reductions. Okay, so those are just the numbers, okay?
Can I continue, Chair?
Okay, let me just see here quickly. That's local government equitable share. Okay, let's go down.
I'll stop by when receiving, Chair.
Okay, no problem.
Can I continue?
Okay, that is cost of living adjustment. Okay, yes. Let's go down.
Okay, Chair.
Okay, so that was what Member Mackenzie was talking about, just in writing. Okay, let's go down more. Apologies, I see there the one red line, mobilizing needs an extra I in it.
Not the problem.
Not the problem.
Chair. I will.
Yeah.
I will.
But
I will,
Justin, you can check for us for spelling. Okay.
Yeah, I will check for spelling, Chair.
Okay, let's go down. Okay, let's see. Okay, so those are just the amounts from the grants. Okay, let's go down.
And then there's a just the
so it's the table. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's basically reference is there. Let's go down.
There we go. So it's just the grants broken down, Chairperson.
No problem. Okay. Let's go down then.
There's your health.
No problem.
There's
because the numbers can always just be double checked by the research office.
There we go.
Okay, let's go down.
There's your agriculture, Chair.
No problem. Let's go down.
Human settlements.
Okay, let's go down.
Social development, and then we've got the public works.
Okay, let's go down.
There's we go your sports and agriculture, Chair.
Okay, let's go down.
So the infrastructure skills development grant, local financial management grant, and we go down, Chair.
Okay, no problem. Let's go down.
Okay, there we go. So that's just for all of your municipalities.
No problem. Let's go down.
Transport. There's your public works extended program.
No problem. Let's go down.
Okay, here we go, Chair.
No problem. Let's go down. Infrastructure grant allocations. Okay, let's go down. So that's the MIG. That's what people refer to as the MIG. Yes.
So this, yeah. There we go. Energy efficiency and demand side management grant. There's the integrated national electrification program.
Yes. Let's go down. Here's the rural roads one.
Yep.
Let's go down. Don't worry. That's the one I'm always complaining about. Regional bulk infrastructure. Let's go down. Water services. Okay. Integrated urban development, informal settlements, urban. Okay. That's all the human settlement stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Good development, public transport. Okay.
Okay. Let's go down. Allocations in kind. Okay. Municipal systems. Okay. Let's go down. Okay, that's also the ISCOM grant. Let's go down. Okay, let's go down. Okay, then it's municipal infrastructure grant and integrated urban development grant. Okay, I see there's the reference on page 302. Okay, let's go down. Okay.
Pittsburgh and Grappo.
Yes, those were the two specific ones that they did indicate. Let's go down.
And just your bibliography, Chair.
Okay.
The sources.
Okay, perfect. Okay, colleagues, our research office can always just make sure that the numbers are correct, but based on the referencing, it seems it's just a copy and paste from the book. Member Mackenzie, am I correct in that regard?
That's fine. That's just a copy. All the numbers are just a copy and paste from the book because you can't change the numbers. But arguments is obviously my arguments.
No problem. Okay, Member Mackenzie has thus now put forward his views and requested that we then do not support the bill. Are there any other views at this stage? Member Philander?
Chairperson, good morning. Yes, Chairperson, through you, Member Mackenzie has very broad and explicitly conveyed his views, Chairperson, and of which I absolutely agree with it being valid reasons for not supporting a Chairperson, and therefore I wish to record that I am in concurrence. Thank you, Chair.
No problem. Member Philandra has thus concurred with Member Mackenzie. I see Member Nkondlo. Can you please indicate your views for us then? Member Nkondlo, are you speaking for the ANC or is Member Mvimbi speaking for the ANC today? Or is it just general views? Member Nkondlo, you're a little bit quiet from your side. If you can just speak a little bit louder or put your mic a bit louder, just so you can indicate to us your views, please. Not really, Member Nkondlo. Can I ask IT just to check in with you regarding the sound, and then I let the other members go ahead so long, and then I come back to you.
You can't hear me still?
Oh, there we go. There we go. It's perfect now. You may go ahead. Thank you.
No, I was saying, Chair, in terms of the first clarity on formalities, I think you would guide, because I thought I can raise my views and then you can go back to the member status of who has got the right to then air the views of the party who is the main member. So if you can give me clarity, because I just wanted to share my views.
Yes, Member Nkondla indicated that you can share your views in general as well.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think, Chair, the argument presented by Member Mackenzie around the formula, I would recall, I'm not sure if he was in the discussion with Treasury, because I think the matter of the formula was raised, and fortunately we are all aware that the discussion on the review of the formula is underway. I think also in your question that you were raising about what is composed and considered, so that we don't make assumptions of what is included or not included. I think for us to get that, it was agreed in the meeting that Treasury will have to come and explain us and give us that particular understanding about the formula. So I think I just wanted to raise my views in terms of that. But secondly, for me to say, I think if we consider that particular context about the formula, if the issue, which I think has been a consistent issue by this committee about, you know, the allocation formula, equitable share formula, we think that repeatedly, I think this matter, even Professor Plakis, may his soul rest in peace, even himself in the engagement as FFC, he did provide a response. It seems we're stuck in the same always arguing, you know, and the division of revenue based on the same argument. I wanted to say personally, and that's the view that I share, that considering, I think what has been raised in the current division, I think personally I would want to support have a different view from Mackenzie and support the bill, considering I think the constraints that we're in at the moment, and the fact that you know, as we sit now with the presentation that was made, I just have the following issues to appreciate the population growth that has been reviewed in as far as the provincial equitable share is concerned. That I think the matter that we've always raised as this particular province about the in-migration and the numbers of people that are coming, which therefore increases or put pressure on the service delivery cost. those matters, I think we heard by National Treasury that those matters have been recognized as part of the current conversation on the review that still needs to be concluded. And also, I think the edition which looks at the human resource training grant for medical interns, which also covers beyond what we thought would be Cubans, but also which considers, any other, which is also local students that are needed at this point with all the pressures, especially now because we are in the third wave. And I think also we should not, which again, it's a concern that we've raised about the spending patterns on conditional grants, where at times unspending results in monies being sent, and therefore, in terms of the future allocations, that those would be decreased. And I think the concern there is really considering both the provincial and the local government in terms of administrative capacity, so that citizens don't get to be penalized because of admin issues where such a service delivery demands are critical. So I think that those were just a few that I wanted to raise at this point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Mvimbi, and then Member Allen.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I hope maybe in future or as we go on, Chairperson, we maybe in the meeting take a resolution that we really have a national treasury and provincial treasury to come and explain this equitable share formula. I know it might have been explained in the past, but I think maybe it will be good if we can have just a share scene about it, because it looks like it's always the basis of the disagreement of the provincial government with the division of revenue bill every year. So maybe rather than always raising the issue of the formula every year, maybe once it's explained to everybody and we understand it, because the way I've actually looked at it and the way I've actually read it, it looked like all the provinces, they've actually received their fair share of their share that they are actually entitled to. So I hope that then we will take that resolution that let's have this formula explained to us once and for all, so that maybe going forward it might not be the basis of objection to the Division of Revenue Act. The second issue, Chair, I am not going to engage the presentation that has been given by Honorable Mackenzie. I see it's very comprehensive. I congratulate him for that, and he obviously is entitled to his views. But mine, Chair, will be to say that in view of the presentation, although I was not present at the meeting with National Treasury, but having read the documents that were presented there, I'm fairly happy that the bill fairly represent what we should, what as the province we are actually entitled to, and also the bill itself, the manner it's presented in the current climate that we are actually facing, that of the pandemic, and also the opportunity that it actually give us and start focusing most of its money on strengthening our health system so that we can be able to actually fight the pandemic. But also not only that, it also begin to pump in money into issues of economic recovery so that we can also begin to assist the economy that has been adversely affected by the pandemic. So on those basis, Chair, I would like to support the bill. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Mvimbi. Member Allen.
Good Morning, Chairperson and all members. I would like to support the input from Member Mackenzie, which was seconded by Member Philander. If I listen to all the input and I consider your question, which you also posed in terms of funding that isn't following in terms of the safety concerns that we have in the province, I would definitely want to support what Member Mackenzie said, as well as Member Philander. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other views before I put my own?
Chairperson, sorry, did you see my hand, Mackenzie?
No, but you may go ahead, Member
Did I
Mackenzie.
down it after I put it up? Sorry.
That's
Chairperson, I'm not going to
okay.
go into, otherwise it's going to be a back and forth. I think that's unfair to the meeting. But I just wanted to support Member Vimbi's comment that Treasury do come back actually and just do a full-on presentation just on the equitable share itself. And at the same time, also we want this meeting to know on the 24th of May, the IEC is coming to us and Home Affairs as well, to the Standing Committee of the Premier, where they're going to talk about elections. But the interesting for me, which is quite good for the, which is quite, it will help all of us, at least me speaking for myself, understand the population growth. It's what the numbers that the INC is going to present, and then it'll also assist me more in getting the better understanding of the equitable share when the Treasury come in the future. And I just wanted to also say that I do also support Member Nkondlo's view that we need to ensure that all municipalities spend all their money. And in the future that this committee needs to also invite some of them just to get an understanding what's hindering from spending their conditional grants, what is stopping them from doing it. And perhaps we can also speak to a colleague from local government. But then, like I said, the reasons why I do not support this bill is in the reasons that I do provided here. And in that meeting with Professor Plyke, may soul rest in peace, and I remember distinctly asking this question at all the times that it came: does the executive take into account their research? And he was very diplomatic in some of his answers, because when they do their research, particularly around the equitable share formula and how they allocate their funding, it seems Treasury at a point stops taking all their views into account, particularly when it comes to the equitable share. And like I said, it's not only the Western Cape. Gauteng has a big issue. I saw the MEC of Finance made a big issue the other day on TV as well. Obviously not directly, because he didn't want to enter in the sphere of politics, but I know what he meant. If they're struggling to fulfill all his responsibilities as Gauteng, that's exactly what we're struggling with in the Western Cape as well, because the money must follow anybody who move, and that is not happening. So I still maintain that I don't think it's fair for me to support the national budget, because it has not taken into account. And unfortunately, at every meeting, I am going to raise the equitable share issue. I've did it at the NCOP a few weeks ago, and I'm not going to stop raising it at every meeting, because it's a real issue. I can't just stop talking about it, because it's going to give the impression that the problem has been solved, and the problem is not being solved. And if that is the only reason why I'm not going to support the budget for the next 100 years, that will be the only reason. Because if we're not getting what's fair and due to us and other provinces, despite their population growth, we're not able to deliver service. It's just as simple as that, in my humble opinion. That's the reason why I do not support the budget.
Thank you, Member Mackenzie. I think most members have already indicated their views. Member Brinkhuis, I see you are online. Do you have any views?
Thank you, Chair. I actually don't have any comment at the moment. I will support Member Bimbi from the ANC.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you so much.
we would like to hear another round of thinking from National Treasury, and the sooner that can happen, the better. Thank you, Chair.
No problem. Okay, colleagues, before I put my views, I just want to remind colleagues that if you remember correctly at the previous meeting, we indicated that we will have a session on the equitable share, and I will get to that as well in the feedback later regarding the budget workshop later in the meeting. But it is correct that the crime statistics, the gender-based violence statistics, the cost of living adjustment, and the amounts for SOEs do not get calculated in the equitable share formula. And the matters that we'll be discussing at the workshop regarding the equitable share will relate to the current input in the equitable share in terms of the factors that were presented to us by National Treasury in the previous meeting. So that just deals with the briefing on the equitable share. And then I agree we can look at possibly a briefing regarding conditional grant spending. Perhaps if we try and work it out nicely, we can try and do it in terms of one of our workshops as well. Okay, in terms of my views for the record, I support Member Mackenzie and Member Philander's views. With that, Dustin, you have heard the views of the members. Are you able to edit the document for us then accordingly?
Yes, Chairperson, I will edit the document accordingly, Chair, and I'll also put the views of the members in the minutes of today.
No. In the negotiating document, we need to put up the negotiating document quickly.
Okay, can
and
I just
then you have to put this, must be part of the negotiating document. And then what we can do is, Dustin, if you can, if we can through you just have research, just make sure that a number didn't miss a 0 or something.
Okay.
And then you need to record a Member Mvimbi and Member Brancase's views in the negotiating mandate as well, please.
No, definitely, Chairperson, I will do so, Chair. Can I just, I'll just call up the negotiating mandate quickly, Chair. I just want to see where it is here on my document. If you can just indulge me quickly.
No problem. Let's give you a minute or two.
There we go, Chairperson. So I will then record. So Chairperson, with regards with the members that does not support, so there is a so we do have a minority view option in our report, Chairperson.
Yes, Dustin, can you just make it a bit bigger for me quickly, just so I can see? I know I do wear glasses, but just indulge me a bit. Okay, so at the second paragraph, we have to take the word support and the / out then.
So we're going to take support out, Chair? And
the /, yes. Okay, and then next to minority view, we have to take the words if any out.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. And then next to African National Congress, we have to include Al-Jamaa.
Yeah.
Okay, before I put the report then, and remember, Dustin, the indications from Member Mackenzie also needs to accompany the negotiation.
Yes, definitely, Chairperson.
But let me just quickly check with Member Mvimbi. Does the minority view, is it accurately reflected? Member Mvimbi?
Yes, Chairperson. Yes, we support the bill.
Okay, Member Brankas, I just want to check if your minority view is accurately reflected and if the party's name is also correct. Member Brankas? Okay, I know Member Brankas did indicate the same as Member Mvimbi. Dustin, can you just check that the party's name is correctly spelled as well?
I will
okay.
Also, Chair.
No problem. Colleagues, can I then get views on the report, whether you support the report and whether it accurately reflects what we have discussed?
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, Member Mvimbi supports the report. Do I have a seconder for the report?
I support.
Thank you, Member Mackenzie. Now, Dustin, can you then take the word draft out? Because now it's not a draft anymore, it's now the report, and I will now read the report into the record.
There we go, Chair.
Okay. Negotiating mandate stage, report of the Budget Committee on the revision of Revenue Bill B3 2021 NCOP dated 18 May 2021 as follows. The Budget Committee, having considered the subject of the Division of Revenue Bill B3 2021 NCOP, referred to it in accordance with Standing Rule 217, confers on the Western Cape's delegation in the NCOP the authority to not support the bill. Minority view. In terms of Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress and Al-Jamaa expressed its minority view that it supports the bill. Okay, colleagues, that is thus now our negotiating mandate. This will be accompanied by the reasons, and Dustin will also then ask for research just to check that a 0 has not fallen off on the numbers on the respective information that was submitted. Okay. Colleagues, with that, we have now completed with our legislation for the day. Can we please move to the minutes that has been circulated?
Not a problem, Chair. I'll just quickly put that on as well, Chairperson. If you can just, let me just stop sharing and then I'll just put on the minutes, Chair. Let me just do this quickly. There we go, Chair. Can you see? Just make it a little bit bigger.
Yes, I can see. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, this is the minutes of 5 May 2021. Let's go to the first page. Let's see, check if everyone's names are correct and so on. Okay, let's go down to page 2. Okay. At 6.1, Justin, there's just an extra space between the comma, semicolon, and the and. If you can just take the extra space out, perfect. Thank you so much. Colleagues, if I could have a proposer for the minutes with the amendment.
I propose for the amendment.
Thank you so much. I heard Member Brunkhuis, Member Mackenzie, and Member Wimby. So, and Member
I wanted to check, Chairperson, sorry. I don't think I just wanted to check the attendance register because there was a meeting where I was not present on, and then I don't want to be supporting or proposing on the is.
Oh, yes. Member Millie, there was an apology for
if I want to help you, Chairperson, I can't help you on this one.
Apologies for that.
Chairperson, because I was there.
Yes, but Member Brunkhuis also proposed and Member Mackenzie on seconds. And I saw Member Philander's hand as well. So everyone has agreed. Thank you so much. The minutes are thus adopted. Colleagues, I just want to get to resolutions and actions. I also have a bit of feedback for you quickly. Member Nkondlo.
Chair, I just wanted before you go, is it a resolution on the minutes or something else?
No,
I wanted to ask
general resolutions and actions. I just also want to give some feedback on budget workshop also.
Let me wait for you then, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. No problem, colleagues. Okay, colleagues, we have found a date for the budget workshop. The date for a budget workshop will be from the 30th of June until the 2nd of July. And you will already see on the current program that 3 dates have been put aside for the budget workshop. The agenda has not been populated yet, but we're just trying to make sure that the respective departments are able to assist us with being there. And I'll just run through some of the general matters that will be at the first workshop. And this was also based on the amount of time we have, given that we are able to obviously have more workshops in the future in order to help us with our research for the money bills amendment process that we are currently embarking upon. Okay. Colleagues, I tried my best to find a time that was not in constituency period, but I failed. There's unfortunately no time slots, and we have sittings almost every Thursday, I think, and the committee program is full of committee meetings. So unfortunately, we needed to take those particular 3 days. So please, colleagues, if possible, could you please avail yourselves for those days, because I do think it will be very informative. So the program will include introductory remarks by the Provincial Minister of Finance, We will have the Western Cape Provincial Parliament Legal Unit doing a briefing on the research they did previously. We will have research briefing from, hello, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to quickly mute everyone. Okay, there we go. Let me just pick up now. Okay. Then we will also have the research unit of WCPP, who will do a briefing for us on their research. We will have National Treasury and Provincial Treasury, which we'll be inviting regarding values, principles, and guidelines for the amendment procedures relating to money bills. We will be inviting the Financial and Fiscal Commission. We will be inviting the Parliamentary Budget Office. We will be inviting the Premier to also make some introductory remarks. We will be inviting the Department of the Premier as well to discuss legislative drafting for us, because if we are going to end up drafting legislation, then we need to know how the technical process works for drafting legislation. We will be inviting the Auditor General to speak to us about performance auditing, as well as the auditing process for the respective provincial departments and entities. And at the end, we will then do discussions and possible resolutions. And then there are also hopefully 2 guest speakers within the field, one which is a professor, which we will also be inviting, but I will wait to see if they respond. And they also have expertise within the finance and procurement sectors as well, which we hope to invite. Now, colleagues, I do know that there are many organizations in South Africa and internationally who deal with budgets. We did try and create this 3 days specifically for the utmost basic necessities that we need to go through firstly, and we've already identified, with the assistance of the Chief Whip, another 3 days in November in order to do a second workshop where we can then hopefully expand upon the research that we've done in the initial workshop. And part of the logistics, we have found a place that hopefully will agree and hopefully will be big enough in St. Helena Bay. And I would just like to ask members to please avail themselves for this workshop if possible. And if you do have any suggestions for we can invite for the second workshop, perhaps where we will have another agenda, please do indicate so. I received previously one suggestion from Member Bosman. I see he has his hand up as well, regarding an international NGO that deals with budgeting. But the current agenda has been set up based on matters that members have indicated in committee that they feel that those are absolutely necessity for us to deal with first. Member Bosman, I'm going to take your hand now, and then I'm going to, Member Nkondlo, if your previous questions are regarding this topic, I'll allow you now. Otherwise, can we wait for resolutions? Okay, I'm going to assume that's a yes. Member Bosman, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to check, Chair, you said the dates were the 30th until the 2nd.
Yes, 30 June, 1st of July, and 2nd of July. When I open the program here, it is a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Perfect. No, thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Nkondlo.
Thank you, Chair. I think perhaps as part of the second workshop in somewhere in November, if I got you correct, I would think maybe one would make the official proposal, a written proposal around how to improve on public participation in the budget process, something that I believe is important for us here. So I think that's one area. I'm not sure whether it will be covered in the first workshop, but if not, one would appreciate if it could be considered for the next workshop. Then I think I will leave the other issues for the resolutions because they emanated from the minutes of the discussion on the division of revenue.
No problem, Member Nkondlo. I do think that when the respective organizations or departments come and speak to us in the first workshop regarding the values and principles that is required for a money bills process, that they probably will speak about public participation and we can raise it there. But if they don't, then we can look to creating a specific slot for improving public participation in the second workshop. And I will also try and find out if there are any leading professors in South Africa from universities that could possibly then join us, perhaps in that second workshop. And then I will also be exploring inviting the International Budget NGO. Colleagues, the workshop will be organized more or less surrounding people being there. Like, while we will obviously do our best to make sure that there is a hybrid facility so that we can also have members online, I would encourage people to be there physically, because I think that some of these matters are going to be quite lengthy in time. And from experience in terms of being at different finance workshops, not everyone finds finance a very sexy topic, and people get bored after a while dealing with the specific matters. And this is also the Budget Committee's attempt in working towards making finance fun again. Member Bosman, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chairperson. I don't know when finance was ever fun, but then again, I left maths a long time ago in school. Chair, I'd like to also propose that we consider inviting the Western Cape Commissioner for Children, Christina Nomdo, as she's got some really interesting experience in participatory budgeting and specifically how we budget for the needs of children. So it might be useful to look at inviting the Commissioner to facilitate a specific session that looks at how to include the specific socioeconomic issues that children experience into the budget process. And also she could perhaps assist the committee in understanding how to increase public participation, because she has been going around the Western Cape attempting to encourage parents and learners to share their views on the services they receive from government. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Bosman. That's a wonderful idea. And I think we'll definitely we'll ask if she can perhaps join us at the second workshop. And we have also had a workshop already from the Gender Commission and the FFC. And the Gender Commission also previously did a session with us on gender-based budgeting, but they did say that there are extra documentation that they would like to share with us. So perhaps we can then, in that second workshop in November, ask that the Children's Commission as well as the Gender Commission also comes and assists us with those matters. And we can perhaps ask the Department of Environmental Affairs to also assist us with matters such as environmental and climate change budgeting, because they have spoken about it in committee as well, that they do have an expert in the department. Colleagues, okay, with that, if there are no other matters regarding the workshop, we are now at resolutions on actions. Member Nkondlo, you indicated you had matters you would like to put forward.
Thank you, Chair. The one, I think, goes back to the latter issue we're discussing about public participation. I recall, I think in the meeting, I think you had raised that, especially because in the absence of the public in that specific meeting, you had raised that we may need to check with, I think, our outreach office to see how can they assist you in improving public involvement and presence in our budgeting discussions. Perhaps I'm just bringing it back to the conversation so that at least that is something that, whilst we're going to deal with it in the workshop, that a concerted effort in that regard is actually put together. The second one is that I've already seen the response, I think, from the coordinator that I think she had sent to the National Treasury, and they've already responded. I would appreciate, I think, as a follow-up, if indeed that question that is already in the minutes around the number and the names of municipalities that have unspent, I think, which was one of the questions, which is there. if unless we are awaiting the response, maybe that could be clarified from yourself, just to get that particular data from the National Treasury. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Member Nkondla. I think it's a great idea regarding the Public Outreach Office, especially since they do also public participation for other legislation, and that would be a great idea to include them in that respective public participation session. Regarding the National Treasury answers, the only answers I have is that which was sent to members as well, but I will check with the procedural officer if there are any questions and answers that have been received that we haven't received yet. If not, we will then just follow up with National Treasury for you regarding those particular matters. Member Nkondla, does that adequately deal with those two matters?
Yes, it does, Chair.
Okay, perfect. Colleagues, are there any other matters at this stage? If none, colleagues, thank you so much for today. Member Bosman.
Before you go, I just want to get some clarity on the response from the National Treasury. And I just want to maybe ask if members can assist me in whether I may be misheard in the last meeting, but I heard that the colleague from the National Treasury orally said that no money is budgeted for gender-based violence specifically, as in the government's response. And the written response indicates that money is allocated, but that it's broken down into the specific budgets of the departments, and that it's also included in the provincial equitable share formula.
Hello, Member Bosman. Yes, orally he did indicate that in terms of the data that goes into the provincial equitable share formula, that the GBV does not get included there. I remember that because that was my question. If I can just open the document quickly, let's see. Yes, in the document, National Treasury said, and I'm going to quote here quickly, the committee asked how matters such as gender-based violence and safety are dealt with in the provincial equitable share PES formula. Allocations for gender-based violence are reflected in table W1.17 on page 81, blah, 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 which shows a breakdown of funding that it's allocated to provinces outside of the provincial equitable share formula calculations. The gender-based violence is allocated 109 million rand in 21-22, 114 in 22-23, and 119 in 23-24. There are other programs such as sanitary dignity programs, substance abuse treatment, and others that have their allocations shown in the same table. With regards to safety, the province's budget for it from the equitable share through the normal budgeting processes, and the province used their discretion on the allocations of program on safety. And that's also related to my question on whether the crime statistics is in the provincial equitable share, and which they answered no. Member Bosman, is there a new question that you would like us to pose to National Treasury in this regard?
Yes, Chairperson, I'd like the National Treasury to explain how they see things such as the sanitary dignity tile project as a gender-based violence response. In my mind, that is related to dignity, and it's not related to someone's gender. I think we need to really, I want to support Member Vimbi when he said that we need Treasury to give us an understanding of how the provincial equitable share formula is worked out. Because if the oral argument the presenter made in our last meeting and this written response is so conflicted, there's a lot to be unearthed. So I'd perhaps like to suggest that we put this on the agenda for that meeting when the National Treasury comes to discuss with us how they formulate the provincial equitable share. Thanks, Chairperson.
No problem. So then with the first workshop then with National Treasury and Provincial Treasury, what we can do is we then ask them that they then deal with this question then there as well as part of the equitable share formula. Member Nkondla?
No, Chair, I wanted to support, I think, Mama Bosman, because I think the issue for me is clarity on the matter, because I recall in one of the submissions of the FFC, I think in August last year, if I'm not mistaken, I think they did mention that part of the COVID response, amongst other things that have been observed has increased, I think, is some funds towards GBV related spending and others. So I think clarity on how and what specifically is defined as that GBV related service delivery cost, I think is important. So I just want to support that perhaps as part of the information that they could be given prior to the workshop is just to specify to them that we would want to actually get them to provide us that kind of an explanation. Thank you, Chair.
No problem. And I think that at the workshop, they must also just highlight again the differences between the money that comes from the conditional grants, the money that comes, the money that you get in terms of the provincial equitable share, and that the data that gets inputted into the provincial equitable share formula, which are all different matters. Member Nkondlo, your hand is up again. Is that an old hand or a new hand? Okay, it seems that it's an old hand. Thank you so much. Are there any other matters that members would like to raise now? If none, thank you so much for today. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you and goodbye.